The grand arena of Velthara had witnessed countless battles over the centuries. It was where warriors earned honor, where generals proved their worth, and where rulers demonstrated the strength that justified their authority. Millions of spectators filled the colossal structure, their voices echoing beneath the transparent dome that revealed the stars above. On this particular day, however, no war was taking place. Instead, the galaxy had gathered for something far more unusual. Their queen wanted to test her husband. Queen Liriana of the Vorth Empire stood proudly at the center of the arena. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, clad in ceremonial silver armor, she was considered one of the most powerful beings in known space. Beside her stood her husband, a human Daniel Carter. Unlike Liriana, Daniel looked unimpressive. He was average height, no armor, no glowing eyes, no enhanced muscles. Just a simple black uniform and an amused smile. The crowd whispered among themselves. Many Vorth citizens still couldn't understand why their queen had chosen a human as her mate. Humans were respected throughout the galaxy for their ingenuity, determination, and adaptability. But physically, most alien races considered them mediocre, especially compared to the mighty Vorth. Liriana raised her hand, silencing the arena. "My people," she announced. The crowd immediately became quiet. "Today, I intend to settle a question that many of you have asked." A giant holographic screen illuminated above the arena. It displayed thousands of public comments, collected from across the Empire. Can a human truly match a Vorth? Why did the Queen choose such a weak species? Could a human protect our ruler? The crowd laughed nervously. Daniel simply folded his arms. Liriana glanced at him. "Are you certain you wish to proceed?" Daniel smiled. "You've been asking me for months," she grinned. "True." The Queen turned back toward the audience. "Today, Daniel will undergo the traditional trial of strength." The crowd erupted. The trial of strength was legendary. Even trained Vorth warriors struggled to complete it. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You never mentioned it was that trial." Liriana smirked. "I wanted it to be a surprise. That's not concerning at all." The audience laughed. Moments later, massive metal gates opened. The first challenge emerged, a Grav Titan. The machine stood nearly 20 feet tall and weighed over 50 tons. Its purpose was simple: lift it. Most Vorth warriors required powered exoskeletons. The crowd watched eagerly. Daniel approached the machine. Liriana crossed her arms confidently. She expected him to fail. Not because she doubted him, because nobody passed every challenge, especially humans. Daniel examined the machine. Then he looked around. "Question." Liriana nodded. "Yes? Do I have to lift the entire thing?" "Of course." Daniel pointed toward a nearby maintenance control panel. "What if I lift it using physics?" The Queen blinked. "Explain." 5 minutes later, engineers were staring in disbelief. Daniel had located the machine's balance point, activated maintenance locks, and used a leverage system to raise the massive construct with surprisingly little effort. The arena fell silent, then the machine rose completely off the ground. The crowd gasped. Liriana stared. "You cheated," Daniel grinned. "No, you used machinery. I used intelligence." The audience exchanged confused looks. Technically, no rules had been broken. The challenge simply required lifting the Titan. It never specified how. The judges reluctantly awarded him the victory. Round 1 belonged to the human. The second challenge was even more difficult. Endurance, a massive gravity chamber activated in the center of the arena. Vorth soldiers trained inside such chambers. The pressure would gradually increase until participants collapsed. Daniel stepped inside. Liriana smiled confidently. This challenge favored pure biological strength. No clever tricks, no engineering solutions. The countdown began. 5 times, normal gravity. Daniel remained standing. 10 times, still standing. 15, the crowd became increasingly quiet. Sweat appeared on Daniel's forehead. 20, even veteran warriors would have collapsed. 25, the audience watched in disbelief. 30, finally, Daniel dropped to one knee. The chamber powered down. Medical teams rushed forward. Liriana herself entered the arena. You reached 30? Daniel laughed weakly. I grew up on Earth? So? Earth's gravity is nearly twice what your species evolved under. The Queen suddenly understood. Humans had spent their entire evolutionary history adapting to conditions that many galactic species considered extreme. What seemed ordinary to humans was exceptional elsewhere. The crowd began murmuring. For the first time, genuine respect appeared in many eyes. But Liriana wasn't finished. There remained one final challenge: combat. The crowd erupted once more. This was the challenge everyone wanted to see. The Queen herself would fight her husband. Not to the death, not even seriously, just enough to determine his capability. Daniel sighed. I knew this was coming, Liriana smiled. Of course. Minutes later, both entered the combat ring. Energy barriers surrounded the arena. Millions watched. The Queen activated her combat armor. Blue energy flowed across her body. Daniel wore no armor at all. The crowd laughed again. The Queen lowered into a fighting stance. Ready? Daniel nodded. As I'll ever be. The duel began. Liriana moved first. She was impossibly fast. A blur of silver and blue, Daniel barely avoided the first strike. The second hit his shoulder and sent him sliding backward. The audience cheered. This was more like it. The human couldn't possibly compete. Then something unexpected happened. Daniel stopped attacking entirely. Instead, he focused solely on defense. Dodging, observing, analyzing. Minute after minute passed. Liriana attacked relentlessly. Yet somehow Daniel continued avoiding most of her strikes. Not all, but enough. The Queen gradually became frustrated. Fight back. I am. You're running away. No, I'm learning. The crowd looked confused. Learning? During combat? Then Daniel suddenly moved. For the first time since the duel began, he attacked. A simple movement. Nothing flashy, nothing powerful, yet it worked. Because he had spent several minutes studying Liriana's patterns, predicting her reactions, understanding her habits. The Queen stumbled. The audience gasped. Daniel had found an opening. Liriana recovered instantly, but her confidence had changed. Now she was taking him seriously. The duel intensified. Both fighters pushed harder. Faster, smarter. The crowd watched in amazement. What began as a demonstration was becoming a genuine contest. Finally, after nearly 20 minutes, both stopped, breathing heavily. Neither had achieved victory. The judges declared a draw. The arena erupted into thunderous applause. But the greatest surprise came afterward. Liriana stepped forward and addressed her people. My subjects. Silence fell instantly. When I first met Daniel, I believed strength meant power. She looked toward her husband. I thought strength was measured by muscle, speed, and combat ability. The Queen paused. I was wrong. The audience listened carefully. Today, this human demonstrated 3 forms of strength. She raised one finger. Intelligence. A second finger. Adaptability. A third. Perseverance. The giant holographic screens displayed images from each challenge: the Titan, the gravity chamber, the duel. Many species possess greater physical power than humans. The Queen's voice echoed across the arena, but few possess their ability to overcome impossible odds. Daniel smiled quietly. The audience remained silent, thinking, reflecting. Understanding, Liriana continued. Humans do not win because they are strongest. She stepped beside her husband. They win because they refuse to surrender. The crowd erupted. This time, however, the cheers were directed at Daniel. Not out of sympathy, not because he was the Queen's husband, because he had earned their respect. For the first time in Vorth history, millions of citizens stood and saluted a human. Daniel looked genuinely embarrassed. You're enjoying this way too much. Liriana laughed. Perhaps. He shook his head. You planned this entire thing. Naturally so. This was never about testing me. The Queen smiled knowingly. No. What was it about? She looked toward the cheering crowd. It was about teaching them. Daniel followed her gaze. The audience continued celebrating, not because a human had proven strong before, but because he had shown them a different definition of strength, one that transcended species, one that transcended biology, one that explained why Humanity continued to surprise the galaxy, again and again and again. As the stars shined above the grand arena of Velthara, the alien queen realized something she should have understood from the beginning. Human strength was never found in their bodies. It was found in their minds, their hearts, and their refusal to accept limits. And that was exactly why she had fallen in love with one.